What's happening, family? This is Robert, aka Bert Wicks. So, what if I told you that one little thing that would take you, give or take, 3 to 4 minutes of your time in your demos would increase your closing percentage, increase your average order, increase the amount of recommendations you get, and also increase the quality of the recommendations that you get? That's what sharing goals has the potential to do for you. So today, I have the luxury and the opportunity to talk to you guys about goal sharing. Dane reached out to me. This is probably one of my favorite things in Cutco to talk about, because this is something that I kind of, especially when I was in college, I made this my baby, and it was something that I literally still have customers that talk about um, the contest that I was working on, the goals I was trying to hit 6, 7, 8 years later. They remember this type of stuff. So today, my goal and my intention is to help you guys be able to do that within your demos as well, right? So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, right? So what if, I want you to just imagine with me for a hot second. Imagine you have, again, a customer on the other side of the computer screen, completely engaged. You've got their undivided attention, and they are like chomping at the bit to help you hit your goals. Right? I just want you to imagine that. I know that you can think of a person right now, so close your eyes if you need to. Think of the person that you've been to, either at their house or over the phone, on the computer. Think about that one customer where you had the opportunity to meet them, where they literally were like zoned in. You were the only thing that mattered. They gave you like 15 recommendations, and they bought a lot of Cutco. I want you to think about that customer. All right, now that you have that person in your head, right, I want you to think about recreating that customer, cloning that customer over and over and over and over and over again until you literally have an army of people that are like, how can we help you break your record, hit your contest goal, buy a house, buy a car, pay for your college? How can we help? Right? So then my next question is, why not you? Why can't this happen to you every single time you have an appointment with somebody? Right? So today we're going to do a few things. The goals, basically the first goal today is you're going to teach you how to share goals with your customers in a more powerful way. That's the first thing we're going to talk about. Second thing we're going to talk about is just how to enroll your customers to go out of their way to help you. Right? And then the last thing we're going to talk about is like the actual how-tos, kind of in sharing your goals more efficiently and also more effectively, just to kind of create what we call as the power intro, which some of you may have heard of, some of you may do, some of you may not do. Again, it's, in my opinion, the most powerful 3 to 4 minutes within your appointment. So when we learn all this, it's going to result in people giving you 15 recommendations a heck of a lot more often. And it's also going to result in a lot of $1,000 orders, right, where you got that comma in the CPO in your orders, which is always a beautiful thing. Okay. So a couple things on we're going to go into before we talk about like the how-to. So first off, I'm going to ask you guys the question of, why is sharing goals important? Why is sharing goals important? Right? So the first thing that I think is really important about sharing goals is it holds you to a next level of accountability. Right? You putting it out into the universe that you want to buy a house, pay for your college, buy a car, pay off your car, whatever it is that you're working towards. The more you talk about it, the more you speak it into existence, the more you're going to hold yourself accountable, right? If you're talking to 100 customers over the span of a few months, there's going to be a bunch of people that you're like, yeah, I'm trying to pay for my school. So like for me, my entire college career, that was literally what I was telling my customers I was going to do, right? I'm going to pay for my college. My goal is to be debt free by the time I graduate. I didn't quite get there, but I was pretty dang close, right? I was debt free about a year and a half after I graduated college, right? So the great thing about it is that you just speaking it into existence more makes it more real over and over and over again. And I know a lot of you have that goal of something that's really scary, big, hairy, audacious goal that's really intense, but you just talking about it more often puts it into the universe and holds you more accountable. Okay. So the second subset essentially to that is you're also going to gain clarity. So some people, you might start off by saying, okay, I want to buy a house. or I want to pay off my car, right? And as you talk about this more, you're going to gain clarity on how you're going to do this too, right? So like if you have a big, hairy, scary, audacious goal, AKA paying off your college before you graduate, for example, again, that could be $30,000. Right? You got to live, you got to eat, you got to breathe, you got to pay your rent, you got all those things that you got to be able to do as well on top of paying for your college. So that's not something that's just a walk in the park, right? So the more you talk about it and share it with your customers, the more clarity you're going to gain. How in the heck am I actually going to do this, right? So there's two things again that sharing goals actually does for you, which is great. Now, what it does for the customer, right, is the customer, it gives them more reasons to buy from you, and it also gives them more reason to give you more recommendations, right? And I think the most important thing outside of that is it creates urgency, right? Who here has ever heard of like, okay, I'll talk to my husband later tonight. Oh, your contest goes for another, or you don't even have a contest. So like, oh, I'll just give you a call later this summer. Right? This cute little old lady, Clarice, right? She's like, oh, I'll just call you in a little while. Like, no, right? That's not, we gotta do this now, Mrs. Jones. I got a contest that ends like on Monday. We gotta make this happen, right? So by creating a power intro and sharing your goals passionately, you're gonna create natural urgency for the customer to be like, you know what? I'm here right now. Let's do this homemaker, or let's do this ultimate with a homemaker for my kids, because I'm gonna buy one eventually, and I might as well buy it from this kid that's super pumped up about paying for his college, or paying for his car, or buying a house at 23, whatever it is, right? So there's a plethora of reasons why sharing goals is important, but those are a couple of the big things. Okay. So let's start with a couple things. We're going to start with creating your story. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a list of questions here and give you some time to write down. It's kind of like a workshop action. So first off, start with your why, right? How did you hear about the job? So take a second and write these things down, because this is essentially allowing you to kind of create this intro for yourself. Right? So you can do this now, and then you can also kind of perfect this a little bit later, right? So first off, how did you hear about the job? Write it down. All right. Okay, whether it was Craigslist, whether it was your friend, whether it was a high school, college, whatever it was, write it down. Okay, next question. Why did you start? Right? Why did you start in the first place? My reason was nobody else was hiring back in 2010. I was 17 with zero experience, and I couldn't even get hired as a frigging cashier at Target. Right? Nobody was hiring. That was my reason. Right? So why did you start? Okay. Next question is, you started, right? Whether you've been here for 3 months, 6 months, or 5 years, why are you still here? Right? I'm still here after 10 years because of the people and the ability to live a life of my dreams and chase my passions. That's why I'm here. The paychecks are cool, right? When you work hard, but that's not the reason why I'm here. It's a vehicle, right? So why are you still here? Right? Maybe it's just because you love to challenge yourself. Put that down. Right? Maybe it's because, again, you've got a goal to pay off your college. Maybe it's a goal that you got to, again, a goal to buy a car or buy a house, give $10,000 to a charity, whatever it is. Why are you still here? Okay. So the next question is, what are you working for right now? What are you working for right now? So I would challenge you, what is something that you want to be able to create / accomplish by the end of January? Right? You guys are coming up to a contest where you've got an awesome opportunity to win some cool stuff. I don't even know what the contest is this year, but there's always something in January, right? So what outside of the contest that Central Region or Dean's got going for you, what are you working towards, right? Let's say you've got $5,000 worth of debt and you want to be able to pay off $1,000 of that before the end of January. Or maybe you want to pay off all of it, right? What are you working for within the next month? Okay. Next is, what is the big picture? What is the big picture goal that you have? So for me personally, it was always the college thing, right? I want to be able to pay off my college. That was the most important thing to me. For you, what is that? could be anything, right? You could be, again, motivated to create a real estate empire, right? Be the next Alex Funk, buying a house when he's 20, right? You could be a person that, again, wants to create a product, wants to build their own business, right? So you want to be able to create capital to be able to do that. And maybe you want to write a book, and you getting more life experience is going to allow you to write a better book. Anything, right? What is it that is the big picture goal? You're here for a reason, obviously. So you got to be able to put that into words. So again, how did you hear about the job? Why did you start? Why are you still here? What are you working for specifically within the next month to 3 months, especially the next campaign, right? January through April. And then what's the big picture goal, right? So what are you working for? Big picture. All right. So next couple things. Okay. Power intro. I like to call it the creating the sit up effect. Okay. So what I mean by that is, how many times have you sat across from a customer or over Zoom, and a customer's at their kitchen table, lean back, right? And you share something super awesome and they sit up. And then all of a sudden they're like trying to look at your goal sheet on the computer, like, oh, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty awesome. Wow, you want to buy a house at 24? Wow. Right? Call that the sit-up effect, right? So a couple things that go into this. The first thing that's really important is you thank the customer. Thank the customer. Okay, Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for sitting down with me. You literally, I understand, could be doing a million different other things besides sitting down with me, some random college kid that Karen knows that sent you your way. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I know it doesn't mean a lot to you, but it means so much to me. So thank you for taking the time. Guys, most customers are extremely underappreciated with their time. They've got 3 kids. I joke with my customers when I come up and I'm like, cool, how many kids do you guys have? And they're like, 4. I'm like, oh, so you guys have lots of free time. That's super sarcastic. And they're like, oh yeah, loads, right? Nobody has a lot of free time when you've got kids, anything, whether they're 16 or whether they're 3, right? You just don't. So thank the customer. Again, a genuine thank you goes a long way. Okay. The next thing that you got to talk about is the contest that you're in right now. Right? What is the contest that you're in right now? And so again, it could be anything. It could be trying to win a trip. It could be trying to win a dream. It could be trying to pay off your school. It could be a contest like SE1 or SE2 is trying to win a trophy, whatever it is. The next important thing is you got number of appointments that you want to complete in a certain amount of time frame. So I broke out some of my OG, where did I put them? Here we go. Some of my OG contest goals. Sorry, freaking retro. This was 2014, guys, during SE2 when I was trying to break the record of 31,400 and what was it? $31,408 is what the record was, and my goal was to beat that, and I sold $5 more than it. But I have 2 thermometers. The importance of 2 thermometers, by the way, is I've got appointments, and that's the one that I talked about most, is if I get to 90, I'll sell 32 grand. That was my numbers, right? I didn't get to 90, but I almost got to 70, and I hit my numbers. It was beautiful, right? And then at every single one of those customers sign in their autograph on how much CPO they help create. That also helped reduce a lot of cancellations because people were so excited to help me hit my contest goals. And then throughout it, I had a bunch of reasons why I was working so hard. So give $500 to my church, max out an IRA, beat the AM record of the summer, be introduced to 1,000 people in 17 days, finish my 5th book of the year during this time, pay off my car, debt free by September, a bunch of stuff, right? Was my goals, right? So next couple things. Okay, we're gonna do this for you guys. All right, we're gonna kind of create your own power intro. Okay. So insert your reason why. Right? Why are you working super, super hard in the next 2 weeks? So for me, it was all about bragging rights. I was like, I'm working my tail off to beat my best friend, David. That was basically it. It got me out of bed at 4:30 every morning for 17 days in a row. So it worked, right? The second thing was the most important thing was the debt-free thing, which was, again, a very big subliminal reason, right? So insert your reason why. Why are you trying to work so hard in the next 2 weeks? Okay, next thing. Show them specifically and physically how hard you are working on your goal. Guys, you have the beautiful existence or this beautiful thing on Zoom where you can share your screen. Have your schedule chocked full, right? And I literally want you to put in when you're waking up and when you're going to bed, right? If you're actually committed to your goal, you're probably going to be getting up at 5 to 5:30 a.m., right? To get some type of learning slash growth slash workout in to just kick butt for 2 weeks. How committed are you? And if you're that committed, showing that to your customer is so powerful. Okay, stress during the power intro, the most important thing that you can stress is like literally how important the presentation number is. So I always said this at the end of my power intro, which we'll get to in a second. Mrs. Jones, thanks again for sitting down with me. My goal here today has nothing to do with selling you Cutco. If I had it my way, you'd own every single thing in this book because it is that good. Everything that I show you today, if I had it my way, you'd have everything. So if you just want to write me a $10,000 check, I could probably take the next 2 days off. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, Mrs. Jones, if you see anything you want, I'll do my best to get you a deal. But the most important thing for me today, Mrs. Jones, has nothing again to do with you buying anything. If you want to buy stuff, again, we'll cut you a deal. Sorry for the pun. Not really, but haha. The most important thing, Mrs. Jones, is I get to X amount of presentations before X date. So if I can complete 60 presentations by 2 Tuesdays, whatever it is from now, by the 11th of January, I know that I'll end up hitting my numbers just based on averages. So again, if you see anything you want, I'll get you the best deal I can. But again, if you have a couple of friends that you know that are super cool like yourself that are willing to sit down with me, that's the most important thing. And if you're okay with putting up with my jokes, hopefully you like the jokes by the end of it, right? I'm quite the cut up. All right, sorry. But in all seriousness, use humor, it works. Okay? So, quick recap as far as the power intro goes. Okay? First step, thank the customer, right? Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for sitting down with me, right? I appreciate your time. I know you could be doing a million different things. Next thing is, what is the contest that you're in currently right now? Right, so Mrs. Jones, thank you so much for sitting down with me. Right, I know you could be doing a million different things right now. So putting this all together, I kind of went a little out of order. So thank the customer. Okay, next thing is your story that we just talked about. Insert blurbs of all of that. So Mrs. Jones, so I'll give you an example. Mrs. Jones, thanks again so much for sitting down with me today. I know you could be doing a million different things right now. I am so grateful for your time. I apologize in advance for all of my bad, corny jokes. People tell me there's never a dull moment around me. But I just wanted to say thank you. I don't have some crazy burning fire passion for kitchen knives and kitchen cutlery. I got this job because I tried applying at 4 other places at Target, Walmart, and Best Buy, and a gas station or 2, and none of them hired me. So I got a letter in the mail from Cutco, and they were hiring, and I was like, well, nobody else is hiring, so here I am. So I started back in June 2010. Honestly, I didn't really know what to think of it. I went into a training, and I got hired, and I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I'm selling kitchen knives, I guess. And I realized really quick, though, I worked really hard in my first couple weeks, and I realized really quickly that this was actually an amazing opportunity that I kind of just stumbled upon, and it was going to give me an opportunity to pay for a lot of my college if I worked hard enough at it. So I basically have a goal now, Mrs. Jones, of actually paying off my school loans by the time I graduate. And it's terrifying because I know it's how much work it's going to take for me to get there. But I basically, when I first started selling Cutco, I was at a conference and I talked to a couple of guys that had sold a ton of Cutco, like way more than everybody else in the room. And I asked them kind of like what their secret was. And they basically just told me, the cool thing is we did the exact same thing that everybody else in this room basically did over the last, give or take, 2 weeks, but we just did more appointments. So they're like, just work hard. If you do more appointments, you'll sell a ton of this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, that's basically just hard work. If I just work really, really hard and I talk to enough people, again, I'll do well with this job. So basically, Mrs. Jones, what I found is I only know so many people and I can't call people out of a phone book and I can't go door to door with knives, especially during COVID. And so basically I figured out really quick that I had to create some type of system um, where again, I got introduced to more people and was able to, again, just do more appointments. So just like Karen did, she did a pretty cool job of just sending you a quick text or an email. I'm not sure how she let you know about it, but the cool thing about my job now, Mrs. Jones, is I don't talk to anybody that doesn't already know a little bit about who I am before I ever call them. So I haven't cold called anybody in a while, which is pretty cool. So it kind of sounds silly today, Mrs. Jones. My goal over the next 2 weeks is to do 95 appointments. Insert your number there, right? And it's going to be insane. Like that's literally averaging, I think it's like almost 7 a day or something crazy like that, Mrs. Jones. It's going to be insane. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do it, but check out my schedule. Look at how many, like I'm getting up at 5 a.m. I've got reading in my schedule from 5 to 5:30. I've got gym from 5:30 to 6:30. I've got a meeting I've got to be on from 7 to 9 a.m. every day. And then I've got appointments essentially from 9 a.m. all the way till 9 p.m. And then I got to do paperwork and admin and follow up after that. And then somewhere in there, I got to sleep. And I'm doing that, Mrs. Jones, for 2 weeks in a row for 14 days. So my goal by the end of this, Mrs. Jones, is if I complete 90 appointments, I'll end up selling about $25,000, $30,000 worth of Cutco product. And if I sell that, I'll actually be the #1 assistant manager, #1 sales rep in the entire division over the next 2 weeks. And if I do that, that's actually going to put me on pace for paying for my college before I graduate. So I won't have any debt. So it kind of sounds silly, Mrs. Jones, but today, again, if you want to, if you just want to buy everything that I show you, you can just write me a $10,000 check. I can go ahead and chalk off the first week's worth of work. Ha ha ha. Just kidding. But in all seriousness, if there's anything that you see that you want today, Mrs. Jones, I will do my best to get you the best deal I can. But the most important thing today, Mrs. Jones, literally has nothing to do with you buying Cutco. It's just, again, just like Karen was, she was nice enough to introduce me to, again, nice person like yourself. If there's anybody else that you know that would be willing to sit through a fun, corny, really bad joke presentation, that's literally the most important thing today. And that's it, right? The one advanced tip that I would give you that tugs on the heartstrings a little bit within a customer of the power intro is tying in your parents. So one thing that I did is when I was talking about basically in between when I found the job and when I started Cutco and before I started like this really cool system where nobody ever gets a cold call, which by the way, having a customer send a text out to their friends before you ever call them, huge, super important. That was not a thing, by the way, for like the first 2.5 years of me doing this job. So I cold called everybody and it was hard. So the text is beautiful. Use it. The email, whatever they do, just use it. It makes your conversation so much easier. But in between that, I would say, so basically halfway through high school, Mrs. Jones, when I was looking into going into college, I had a person specifically at the University of St. Thomas that told me, thank your parents for sending you to a private school because I went to Tino Grace. And I didn't know what they meant. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, right? And they were talking about simply, hey, they're paying money for you to go to like high school. Like your other friends that you grew up with, they're probably not, their parents are not paying for them to go to high school. So they're investing in your education so you're better set up for college. And it gave me a whole new perspective on why I needed good grades and why I needed to, again, like get my grades up and get a good ACT score. Because at the end of the day, they were only going to be able to write a check for a certain number and it wasn't that big. So for me, I was like, I'm just so grateful for my parents giving me the opportunity to, again, have the education that I have. So I kind of wanted to pay them back in a way of like, okay, you don't have to write this whole check for college. I should be responsible for this because this is my education, not your education, right? So talk about how grateful you are in some way for your parents. In every way, no matter if you've got a great relationship with your parents or a terrible relationship with your parents, you can be grateful for something from that. Either they motivated you, right? Either they inspired you, right? To, again, get this job, to make something of yourself. Like the greatest thing about Cutco, guys, is you're in complete control of how much and how well you want to do at this job based on how many phone calls you make. It's literally it. Whoever makes the most phone calls usually is the person that's going to make the most amount of sales, right? So that's the power intro, guys. That's the power of sharing your goals. I will send out to Dane also a document that you guys can print out. It was more based off SC2, which is in July, which I know quite a few of you guys have been through. But you can plug and play and just, again, kind of change around goals and things like that. Again, especially when you're trying to do 7, 8, 9 appointments in a day, you don't have a whole lot of time. But again, my power intro that I did there probably took about 4 to 5 minutes, right? And that 4 to 5 minutes is super important because, again, it creates that sit-up effect of you're trying to do what in this amount of time? You're trying to sell how many knives? You're trying to do how many appointments? You're working how hard? You're getting up at what time? You're trying to get introduced to 1,000 people in the next 14 days. Like, holy cow, like this kid is motivated, right? So the goal is to inspire your customers, right? I always said that the biggest compliment that I could have on a presentation had nothing to do with the order and had nothing to do with the recommendations they gave me. It had everything to do with if they like wanted me, they either wished that their kid was there so they could watch the presentation. The other compliment was they would pause. They'd say, hold on, Jimmy. And they would call to their son or their daughter and have them come down and watch the presentation, because that basically, guys, is the best compliment you could give, because all they're wishing is they wish that their child can be inspired and be more like you, which I thought was the best compliment you could get, right? And I knew that the second that happened, usually those people bought a lot and they gave me a lot of recommendations. And again, the sit-up effect, they are engaged for the entire presentation, right? So again, this is on YouTube. So Dane, you can send the link so people can rewatch this if they need to. But besides that, guys, again, over the next 2 weeks, work hard, play hard. Again, there's some, again, cool contests I know that, again, either Central Region and also, again, Dane's putting together for you guys. Work your butt off. Again, you can sleep when you're dead during push periods. Again, it's a great excuse to just work really, 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 really hard. And if you can win some cool stuff in the process, awesome. But besides that, guys, I'll see you soon. Thanks again for the time. We'll talk to you soon.